Bits, Bitcoin, Bitcoins, Satoshis. What is this all about? Welcome back, everyone. I hope that you guys had a great weekend. As you all know, the Bitcoin space and the multiple Bitcoin communities, or people who identify as Bitcoin enjoyers and Bitcoin supporters, we can't just stop fighting. No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if we're sitting near all-time highs or at all-time highs. It doesn't matter if we are in price discovery territory. It doesn't make a difference if people are sitting there planning out their citadels. They will argue. We will argue. So, on that note, let's talk about this ridiculous debate about Satoshis, bits, Bitcoin, and Bitcoins, and now apparently Buttcoins and Titcoins. This post from Miss Hoddle hits the nail on the head. The year is 2024. The Bitcoin price is over 107K. Kind of funny because by the time I read this, we had already gone over 108K and back down to 106. Anyways, and Bitcoiners are still arguing about literally everything. Got to appreciate the consistency. And look, I can assume what it is that she's talking about, and I think we're talking about this debate, right? The debate of what do we call these units, whether or not they exist, but these divisible units that we have perceived about Bitcoin. What do we call them? How do we make this not so confusing? Anyways, John Carvalho, or somebody who's also known as Bitcoin Error Log on Twitter, it's a pretty controversial figure within Bitcoin. And the reason why I say this is because he is unfiltered. He speaks his own mind. And again, I mean, I know there's a lot of people that do speak their minds, but it just seems that John, for whatever reason, when he speaks his mind, people tend to get triggered and they tend to get upset. So a couple of days ago, he put out this tweet indicating he had submitted a new Bitcoin improvement proposal, or a BIP. So here we go. Today, I submitted a new BIP proposal for public review, redefinition of the Bitcoin unit to the base denomination. Abstract. This BIP proposes redefining the commonly recognized Bitcoin unit so that what was previously known as the smallest indivisible unit becomes the primary reference unit. Under this proposal, one Bitcoin is defined as the smallest unit, eliminating the need for decimal places by making the integral unit the standard measure. This BIP aims to simplify the user comprehension, reduce confusion, and align on-chain values directly with their displayed representation. So, obviously, I'm going to put the link to his full tweet in the show notes so you guys can go through the whole entire proposal. But the TLDR, okay, is that Satoshis don't exist, okay, individual Satoshis. For the people who are familiar with Bitcoin, right, you know that you've been taught, as I have been taught, that 100 million Satoshis equals one Bitcoin. So we would throw this out the window. Okay, we would throw this out the window, and now each individual unit, okay, would simply be one Bitcoin, okay, which I do think creates more confusion than it does help. But also, this proposal would also kind of it's also kind of meant to address the unit bias issue, and essentially now all of a sudden there would be 2.1 quadrillion Bitcoin or Bitcoins. So yeah, I don't know how I feel about that, but we're going to stop here for the moment, and we're going to continue to the next proposal because, of course, John putting out this proposal caused all of Bitcoin Twitter, or a good portion of Bitcoin Twitter, to just completely melt down and start overreacting. And of course, he got a whole bunch of ad hominem attacks. And again, right, like you could see, I don't necessarily agree with his proposal, but I don't think he is stupid or something like that. It has nothing to do with him, right? It has to do with discussing the proposal. And if this proposal seems to incite some type of a strong emotional response, then maybe we should be examining that, right? Why am I having a strong emotional response to this, this proposal? Anyways, just some food for thought, right, as we go through it. So, of course, right, it's the Bitcoin community. The Bitcoin communities, right, which are not connected. Anyways, let's continue on because, of course, Rockstar Dev is Such a funny guy. And I think he just couldn't help himself but but to troll John. I submitted a new BIP proposal for public review. Redefinition of the Bitcoin into Buttcoin and using that as the unit to the base denomination. For the people who don't know why this is funny, why Buttcoin is funny, it's because there is a Reddit community of coping no coiners, and essentially this community is called our Buttcoin, and all they do in this Reddit is they cry about Bitcoin and they just insult Bitcoin, and they come up with all these reasons. So that's why they call it the endearing term of Buttcoin. Anyways, so yes, that was Rockstar Devs' response to this, right? And of course, this followed by fellow Bitcoiner Walker America, right? And he said he is submitting a counter BIP to Rockstar Devs' Buttcoin BIP, and he is calling it Titcoin and redefining Sats into tits. Okay, so and of course his podcast is known as the Titcoin Podcast. So it's, I think this is par for the course. Okay, so all joking aside, right? Bitcoiners love to troll each other, and to me, someone like me, this is incredibly amusing, right? I get that I should maybe be taking this a little bit more seriously, but I can't help it. I can't help but not take it seriously. So let's talk about this though, right? So as of right now, these are the real proposals, the real proposals that are actually out there, right? There's John's proposal, right, to turn everything into Bitcoin, okay? Then there is the bits proposal, and if I understood this one correctly, it's 1 million bits per Bitcoin. I don't know that bits. I never really took on to. I never took a liking to, and I know that there's a lot of people in the community that support bits, and I keep calling it a community. Communities of communities. I can't help but say it's just such an easy word, right? And I guess it sounds better than saying network. Anyways, either way, the whole point that I'm making is this: when it comes to all these different denominations, I personally am not getting held up over what to call what and what the importance is. To fellow Bitcoiner TC's point, who did extensive research on the namings of different units throughout history, and it's really amazing how so many founders have a bunch of units named after them, and it seems to be widely accepted. So maybe Satoshis is the best solution. Now, one piece of confusion that I can't help but mention, at least in the proposal that John made about the base unit being called Bitcoin, it kind of makes, and I could be thinking about this incorrectly, and I have no problem with that because I'm attempting to understand this to the best of my ability. But if we call everything Bitcoin, it kind of makes me think of the analogy between pennies, right, or cents and dollars, right? We know that 100 cents make a dollar. So if we were to start calling cents dollars, so $100 makes a dollar? Like, I feel like it's the same problem. And again, I may be oversimplifying this, right? I have no problem accepting that I don't understand something at great depth. And by doing that, it enables me to be able to dig in a little deeper without, getting personally offended by not understanding something, which, yes, some people do. But anyways, my whole point is I just don't think that these other proposals are really, and the Titcoin proposal is I think it's a joke. Sorry, Walker. I think it's a joke. I do think that Rockstar Devs proposal is also a joke. I do not believe that John's Bitcoin error logs proposal is a joke. And so that being said, I don't really know what the ultimate outcome of this is. I thought that during the bull markets, we weren't supposed to argue anymore. And yet, here we are, arguing more than ever about more things than ever. I guess the best piece of advice that I could give to the people who are watching this and who are, for whatever reason, maybe you're new to Bitcoin and you're looking at this and thinking, wow, I don't know if I necessarily want to hold Bitcoin. these debates, right? These conversations, they ain't got nothing to do with the actual value or the purchasing power of Bitcoin. They have nothing to do with the inherent qualities of Bitcoin, right? The censorship resistance, the hard cap, the fact that anybody can take a look at any transactions on the ledger, right? The transparency of it. Like none of Bitcoin's real qualities are actually affected, right? So these discussions, they shouldn't cause people to shy away from Bitcoin. If anything, maybe it becomes an angle for you to get involved in the conversation, right? Maybe this is like some low-hanging fruit where you go and you decide to start digging into these debates, and that actually opens our eyes to other debates. All right, guys, so we can see the bull market is full of noise. Okay. Personally, I'm a Sats person, right? So I guess I'm going to draw my line in the sand for now, based on all the information I have and based on the understanding that I have of Bitcoin, because this is how I was taught. It doesn't mean it's right. It doesn't mean that it is ultimately correct. It's just this is the way I learned it. I learned it calling them Sats. So that is what makes the most sense to me. I think one of the best ways to look at this is from an entertainment perspective. Grab your popcorn. This is the first of many debates that are going to go down as we continue this ride in price discovery territory with Bitcoin. Guys, that's all I wanted to talk about today. I'll catch you next time.